Hey, hello everyone. Are you all able to hear me? Can you please confirm? You might want to use chat window. Wonderful. Welcome to this series of data science interview preparation sessions conducted by 360. A minute. Yep. Sorry about that. There was an echo, which was. Uh, okay. So, broadly speaking, let us understand on what are the steps that you have to include as part of interview preparation. So, interview preparation strategy. Number one, you should undergo training through some training institute. Okay. And you have to undergo training under guidance of some trainer who is well versed with the practical application. So I would say practical oriented trainers, right? You need to identify. In the industry, there are a lot of people who are delivering trainings, but they do not have any knowledge absolutely. Hence, this is very important. Second, practice as part of assignments. We provide assignments. In that way, if there are any other institutes providing assignments for your practice, please enroll there and ensure that you practice assignments. And there should be someone who can give you feedback on your assignments so that you improve upon yourself. Third step is you will have to work on live projects. If you do not work on live projects, if you work on projects from some competition websites such as Kaggle or Crowd Analytics, it will be a disaster. Why? Because in competition websites such as Kaggle, automatically you are given data set. So what happens beforehand is not known to you. You really don't know the business problem clearly. You don't know the data acquisition aspects because you need to acquire the data. You need to collect the data. Before collecting the data, you cannot proceed further and you cannot assume that magically data would come and store on your computer as a CSV file or Excel file. That will not happen, friends. Hence, I'm saying experience on live projects is extremely important. And the next thing is, oops, sorry. Yeah. And the next thing is prepare your resume well. This is going to be your face, right? Your resume will be a reflection of what you are and who you are. And you cannot afford to have spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. You cannot afford. And you cannot also afford to give incomplete project information. So when you prepare your resume, you need to clearly list down who is the client. You need not give the client name, but you have to say that leading customer in the space of logistics, something on those lines. B, what is the business problem that you try to solve? C, what is the technical solution you provided? Within that, what are the various techniques that you have applied? Once you're done with this, what are the business benefits that were obtained because of doing your project? And as part of live projects, you always need to understand what is the project management methodology. That is, how do you create project charter? What are the various components? You need to know that. You need to understand what is the data architecture, or how do you build the pipeline? Data architecture or data pipeline. Once this is done, then you need to establish the connection, that is called as architecture in action. You cannot say that this is the PowerPoint presentation with the architecture job done. No, you need to implement this architecture. Once you implement the architecture in action, then you proceed further with model building steps. And here you need to also bear in mind on whether it is on-premise implementation or whether it is on cloud implementation. Is it on-premise or is it on cloud? Okay, I'll also store this. Okay, once you prepare your resume, then promoting your resume is very important. To promote your resume, do not assume that only job portals are the way to go. Not really. Job portals is one forum. Another very, very important forum is LinkedIn. If you do not have LinkedIn profile, then no one can help you. You need to have a LinkedIn profile, an active LinkedIn profile. A lot of people get jobs based on the kind of posts that they do. So the moment you complete your live project, let the world come to know about that. Let the world come to know. So you display your live project on that. Once you complete your training, you get a training certificate. Publish that onto LinkedIn profile. Third thing is, okay, let me put down those also. Training completion certificate to be published. Secondly, you also need to publish about your project completion because these are live projects, not dummy projects. So you have to feel extremely happy and privileged to post these. Post the project details along with project completion certificate. Once you are done with these two, uh, you have to affirmatively and actively mention on your profile that you are looking out for opportunities. You are looking out for job opportunities. Why do you need to do this? Because there are a lot of students or past participants who got trained through us who got job interview calls directly from Malaysian Airlines just because they have mentioned this, that they are looking out for job opportunities. You'll be an easy pick. That's one thing. And network. Network with chief data scientists and senior data scientists. Okay. If you start networking, your chances of getting placed increases multifold. Then with respect to job portals, don't update your resume and keep quiet. You need to daily update your profile. It could be as simple as you put a different phone number or email ID, save it, and then once again replace that dummy email ID with your correct email ID. That is in some sense refreshing your profile. When employers search for profiles on job portals, only those profiles which get refreshed or which got updated recently would appear on the top. And that is an easy pick for the potential employers. So please ensure that you also do daily updates of your profile. These are a few housekeeping tasks that you need to perform, okay, before proceeding further with your interview. All right. Then I would say that preparing for interview is not a one-day task. You need to continuously, keep preparing for your interviews. How do you prepare? Is there any quick way? Yes, certainly. There are two things that I would strongly recommend. Number one, in the learning resources, we are on a frequent basis updating interview questions. So you go here, you'll find the interview questions, and we will be updating a few more very soon. So this is one quick access. Second thing is your mind map. I would very strongly recommend you to proceed further and read mind map at least 3 times, right? 3 times in a day. This is the second thing. And the third thing is we have this digital book. You can access it online. And there are, of course, 168 pages, but very soon we'll be making the other pages also live. This will serve as a good reference. We are adding a lot of new things. We are updating many things in the book. It might take some more time, but it will periodically get updated here. So have an eye on these two. So you need not look outward. You can just look at our website and you'll have learning resources that has wealth for you. Next. So prepare daily. Next thing is you need to decide upon what should be the broad modules. Not just broad modules. One second, sorry. You also need to look at job opportunities, job openings, and what are the job description elements. Are people speaking about SQL, NoSQL? Are people speaking about knowledge of Apache Spark? Are people speaking about cloud implementations? What is it that they are speaking about? Based on the current trend, I can tell you that one is the theoretical knowledge. Of course, this is mandatory. Second thing is they're asking questions such as, can you build the model in distributed environment? There were days when people used to do on-premise distributed environment, setting up the infrastructure, but nowadays it's all on cloud. And working on distributed environment means you need knowledge about big data Hadoop. Okay, and for processing and building machine learning algorithms, people are expecting you to possess knowledge on Spark. Database. So unlike the trainings and unlike the competitions, wherein the dataset magically comes and sits on your computer, in practical worlds, you should be able to pull the data from the database, predominantly SQL and NoSQL. People are expecting you to have some basic knowledge about writing SQL queries and working on NoSQL databases. Next, people are expecting you to possess knowledge working on cloud. So on cloud implementations are very important. Why are they important? Because you can scale your model easily. Okay, you can easily scale your model. So one is working on the distributed environment. Another is scaling your model. Third thing is SQL, NoSQL knowledge. And finally, um, deploying your model in production. How do you deploy a model in production? Post production, how do you monitor your model? Almost all of these questions, including the data security aspects, are taken care on cloud. So machine learning on cloud is the next big thing. Machine learning on cloud includes a lot of pre-trained models. That means you absolutely, you need not have any theoretical knowledge about any machine learning algorithm, no programming, no coding, nothing. It's just drag and drop. Okay, it's one step towards auto ML and auto AI. Next big thing is, what are the modules? While it is easy to give you certain modules, what I would say is prepare well on the projects that you work upon. Nevertheless, statistical analysis, within which you need to understand, or even before this, obvious questions will be on what kind of data did you work on? So data pre-processing related questions will come up. How do you clean the data? What kind of challenges did you face? Did you have outliers in your data? Right? All these kind of questions would appear in your interview. Once you process the data, then you proceed further with data mining. Here you obviously have supervised learning, unsupervised learning. Within supervised learning, you have regression techniques, broadly speaking. Then you have other classification techniques. And you also have ensemble techniques. And then deep learning. And the latest buzz is reinforcement learning. This is also another thing which is emerging as a new field altogether. And then you also have statistical analysis, within which we have regression analysis and hypothesis testing. Broadly speaking, of course, there are a bunch of other things, but these are a few things that you need to be aware of. And a little bit about probability distribution. And when it comes to unsupervised learning techniques, you'll have clustering, then you'll have dimension reduction, then you'll have network analytics, building recommendation engine, and then text mining and NLP is next big thing, natural language processing. Okay, and yep, broadly speaking, these are a few things which you would uh, see as part of the trainings and also as part of your interview questions. Then you have time series data or forecasting, within which you can expect questions around data driven approaches and model driven approaches. Today, we are going to spend some time on data pre processing. Okay, and also we will delve deep into each and every algorithm and what are the various variants that exist. Here also you'll have in unsupervised also we have deep learning techniques we shall discuss. Okay, even before I go to data pre-processing, let us understand about hypothesis testing, or rather let me go to regression techniques. It'll be easier. If your output variable is continuous and if you have a single input, you proceed further with simple linear regression. Just to tell you, in interviews, they'll ask you questions around if you have output variable which is continuous, which technique do you employ? Irrespective of your input, you should proceed further with linear regression. If your output variable is continuous and if you have multiple inputs, then you have multiple linear regression. If your output variable is discrete and if you have two categories and a single input, you will have simple logistic regression. If the output variable is discrete and if you have two categories and if you have multiple inputs, then you proceed further with multiple logistic regression. If your output is discrete and if you have more than two categories, irrespective of whether you have a single input or multiple inputs, you proceed further with multinomial if the categorical data, that you have, just a minute, I think. Okay, oops. Okay, sorry. There will be spamsters will be joining our YouTube channel, so periodically I'll have to remove them. Just give me a minute. Yep. Hmm. Okay. All right. Uh, so if your output variable is categorical, which is nominal data type, then you proceed further with multinomial regression. If you have categorical data which is ordinal, then you proceed further with ordinal regression. So you have multinomial regression on one side and ordinal regression on another side. If your output variable is count, your input can be single or multiple. You proceed further with Poisson regression. And the condition for Poisson regression is that mean should be equivalent to variance. Okay, and if mean is greater than variance, then you proceed further with negative binomial regression. If variance is greater than mean and variance greater than mean is called as over dispersion. And when you have over dispersion issues, you execute negative binomial regression. Sometimes you might have excessive zeros, like predicting the number of insurance claims. Majority of them will say we never claimed insurance, right? So you'll have majorly zeros. If you have majorly zeros, one second. Yeah. If you have majorly zeros, then you proceed further with zero inflated Poisson or zero inflated negative binomial model. Zero inflated negative binomial regression. And we also have hurdle models. We will actually continue this as a series. Okay. Every week we'll be having these sessions and we'll be delving deep into each and every module from interview preparation perspective. And from classification perspective, the algorithms that you need to be aware of from the interview perspective are as follows. KNN, naive Bayes, then you have decision tree, you will have support vector machine. Let me write it in this way. Support vector machine, SVM. Okay. Yeah. Only on weekends. Yes. And simultaneously, I'm getting rid of spamsters. Okay. And you'll have a bunch of other techniques. You should be aware of all these techniques to be able to attend interviews. KNN, naive Bayes, decision tree, SVM. And when it comes to ensemble techniques, you'll have bagging techniques. And a variant of bagging is random forest. You should be aware of this as well. And then you should be aware of boosting techniques. Decision tree by default can also work as a boosting algorithm. Okay. Within boosting, there are three: ADA boost, gradient boosting, and extreme gradient boosting. Okay. And then you have deep learning techniques. When it comes to supervised deep learning models, um, when you have supervised deep learning models, you'll have artificial neural network, or ANN, which is also called as multi-layered perceptron. MLP. To deal with images or videos, you have convolutional neural network. So let me put it in this way. In order to deal with your structured data, you have artificial neural network, or multi-layered perceptron. To deal with images, which is unstructured data, wherein you have videos or images. Images is a subset of videos. We use convolutional neural networks. When we delve deep into that, we will understand about interview questions. And when it comes to unstructured data and sequential data, let me put it in this way. Sequential and textual data. That is when you proceed further with recurrent neural network. And there are a lot of variants of RNN, such as simple RNN. Then you have bidirectional RNN, then deep directional RNN. A variant of that is long short-term memory, LSTM. Within LSTM also you have simple, bidirectional, deep bidirectional. You will have simple LSTM, bidirectional LSTM, and deep bidirectional LSTM. And next version of that is called as gated recurrent units, GRUs. Same is the case with GRUs also. You'll have bidirectional GRUs, deep bidirectional GRUs, etc. And the next version of this is sequence to sequence models. Next version of that is transformers. Next version of this is attention mechanism. Next version of this is BERT. This is where we stand at this point of time with respect to deep learning supervised. Okay. Then you have reinforcement learning, then you have clustering. In clustering, you will have a lot of techniques, dimension reduction, so on and so forth. And of course, there'll be bunch of other techniques. Data pre-processing. Interview question would be something on these lines. Explain the data sources. That means from where are you getting the data? If you're working with a specific customer, that specific customer may or may not have data of all the departments in a single source. They might be having a few data sets in CSV format, a few data sets in PDF format, right? And some data might be in JSON format. We really don't know. Or they might be using SQL database. They might be using Oracle database or Microsoft database or MySQL. We really don't know. They might be using NoSQL databases such as MongoDB, Cassandra, etc. Right? Or maybe they have Internet of Things, IoT devices, industrial IoT devices, which generate data and store the data in SCADA system. So is data in SCADA system or CSV or in all these formats, in all these various databases? You should be well versed with these kind of things with respect to the project that you mention on your resume. Yeah. So now, Sheena, already we have this mind map, which is available here. Okay, you can think about whatever I'm doing as a small subset of this. Yeah, everything here, but of course we can also make this available to you. Shouldn't be a problem. We are going to post this on our LinkedIn page, and I can share with you our LinkedIn page right away. Friends, you would be given access to that, and all you need to do is follow our LinkedIn page. I'm going to share the LinkedIn page with you all right away. Okay, so all you need to do is I'm putting it on our YouTube chat window. Just follow. If you click on follow, you will be notified, and then you can get access to this. We'll give the link on that. Okay. So this is the first question that you would anyways, or these are the set of initial questions which people will ask about your project. What is your business problem? Obviously, you should be aware of that. And the next question would be explain your data source. After this, explain or describe your metadata. Okay. Describe metadata. What do you mean by metadata here? If you have a data set, your data set might be having a lot of columns, a lot of variables. You might have age, you might have income, right? You might have education. Within education, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you mean by 1? What do you mean by 2? What do you mean by 3 and 4? What is the range of, or is the age captured in years or months? Is income measured in dollars or rupees? All these details should come up. Okay. And you should be knowing in and out of your columns. Next question would be, what data pre-processing techniques did you apply? What data pre-processing techniques did you apply? You might say quickly that, do you know what? I've dealt with outliers. Immediate question would be, okay, name me the variables where you had outliers and explain more about that particular outlier. If there were less outliers, you should have actually dealt with your outlier. Outlier does not mean you delete, you apply your 3R technique. So based on that, you should be able to give an explanation on why you had outliers in a specific variable. First of all, you need to give the variable name in which you had outliers and why were those outliers. So name of variable and your analysis on why some value was considered outlier. This explanation you need to provide. After explaining about outliers, obviously you'll also speak about missing values. Then immediate question will be, okay, name me a few variables or features in which you had missing values. And you should be able to give the names of those missing value variables where you had missing values. And that is very important. Okay, so ultimately it boils down to metadata. Knowing in and out about the data is pivotal, and you'll know in and out about your data only if you worked on that particular data set. If you're trying to work on some dummy data set, or if you're trying to falsify by putting some project information, then you'll be in for deep trouble, because questions will be around your project. Okay, so you should be able to name the features, not just name the features. You should be able to speak about what techniques you applied. And from outliers perspective also, onus is on you on how you want to direct your interviewer, what kind of questions you want your interviewer to ask you. When you speak about outliers, if you say that, do you know what, I've applied technique called as winsorization, then obviously they'll ask you a question on what is this winsorization. Then you should be able to explain about winsorization. Winsorization is a technique wherein if you plot your data on a box plot or otherwise, if you calculate all the quartiles, you look at the fifth quartile value, or locate and calculate the fifth quartile and 95th quartile values. All the values which are less than the fifth quartile, you force it to fifth quartile value. So all these numbers will change to this fifth quartile value. And all these numbers will force to 95th quartile values. Okay, and you deal with only this data. This is called as winsorization. Another question around outliers would be, what is the difference between trimming and winsorization? For outliers, this might be a question. Trimming means if you have the data in this way, if you say 5% trim, this is called as alpha trim technique. If you say 5% trimmed, that means you'll select the lower 5% data and upper 5% data and delete those. Delete those. If you delete those, you'll be left with middle 90% of data. Proceed further with middle 90% of data, and that is called as trimming. Another question, and I believe roughly 150 plus people are attending this. So question to you all is, what will you get if you do Q1 minus 1.5 times of interquartile range? And what would you get if you do Q3 plus 1.5 times of interquartile range? Number one. Number two, what is the formula for interquartile range? And number three, if I give you a formula in this way, Q1 plus, or let me erase this, Q1 minus 3 times of interquartile range and Q3 plus 3 times of interquartile range. Yeah. Can someone tell me? Someone who can type the answer? Let's see who will get it right. Q1 minus 1.5 times of interquartile range and Q3 plus 1.5 times of interquartile range. would give you outliers. Exactly. I think Prakriti is giving the answers. Now, these two also will give you outliers. These two also will give you outliers. Then why these two? What is the difference between Q1 minus 1.5 and Q1 minus 3? Of course, interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. This is fine. If there is any value which is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times of interquartile range, it is called as suspected outlier. Suspected outlier on the lower side. This is also suspected outlier on the upper side. If this is Q1 and this is Q3 on this side. This is lower, which is this. And on this side, you'll have the upper, which is this. Minus 3, if you have any value which is less than this, then it is a certain outlier. There's no question, there is no suspicion. That is certainly an outlier on the lower side. And for this, if you have values which are greater than Q3 plus 3 times of interquartile range, it is certainly an outlier on the upper side, upper extreme. These are a few things that you need to remember with respect to uh, data pre-processing and outliers. Next question is around missing values. Okay. In the interviews, your interviewer might use multiple terms for data pre-processing. Can you name a few? Can you name a few? What could be the various names of data pre-processing? Data pre-processing is also called as what is it called as? Data pre-processing is also given certain names. Data pre-processing is also called as data preparation. It is also called as data munging. It is also called as data wrangling. It is also called as data organizing. All these are the various names. Data cleansing. All these are the different names given to data pre-processing, and you should be aware of all of these things. Okay, another interview question. With respect to outliers, even before we go to missing values, what is the difference between masking and swamping? What is the difference between masking and swamping? That is another interview question which people ask. And you will have to resort to our mind map to be able to answer this. Okay, about masking and swamping. Then with respect to missing values, interview question is, one of a participant was asked this question when he has applied for Internshala. Internshala was providing some paid internship. When he applied there, he was asked this question on what are the various variants of imputation or missingness. what are the various variants of missingness in data. And once again, you'll have to resort to the mind map to be able to know about these. There are three primarily: missingness at random, missingness not at random, and missingness completely at random. And questions might be around these techniques. What is the difference between MAR versus MNAR? What is the difference between MCAR? So questions would be around these when it comes to data pre-processing. Within that, a technique which is called as imputation, or a variant of data pre-processing which is called as imputation. Imputation is a technique which is used to replace the missing values. So the next question would be, what are the various imputation techniques? And when it comes to imputation techniques, broadly speaking, you have to speak about deletion methods, which are default techniques. By default, these are the techniques which get applied. If you don't do anything, deletion methods get triggered. And then you'll have single imputation methods, and you'll have model based methods. Again, since these are as is available on our mind map, I would request you to actually resort to that. Okay. And a few other questions would be centered around when it comes to imputation, right? What are the other names of case-wise deletion? What are the other names of case-wise deletion? Then immediately you should be able to list out those. Other names for case-wise deletion are list-wise deletion, and you also have complete case analysis. These are the two names. Okay. And then you have other deletion based method which exists, which is called as pairwise deletion. Can anyone tell me what is the other name for pairwise deletion? What is another name given to pairwise deletion? Pairwise deletion is also called as available case analysis. Right? These are all the various questions which people will certainly ask you in interviews. Okay. Then within single imputation method, when will you apply mean imputation, and when will you apply median imputation, and when will you apply mode imputation? When you don't have outliers, mean. When you have outliers, median. When you have categorical data, mode imputation. Okay. And there'll be bunch of other techniques which exist. A very simple question would be around transformation. A lot of challenges that you have in your data can be addressed using transformation techniques. And one of the robust transformation technique is called as Box-Cox transformation. Not box plot, Box-Cox transformation technique. Okay. And within Box-Cox transformation technique, people might ask you a question on what if lambda value equal to 0, what transformation does it perform? Yep. Can anyone answer this? If lambda value equal to 0, what transformation does it apply? Only a few people are answering. Pavan, Pankaj, Kiran, Swapna. Only a few of y'all are answering. Sindhu, Upendra, Ranganath, Satya, etc. Right? Yep. Can you answer this? What kind of transformation do you think Box-Cox transformation would apply? Log transformation, exactly. It will apply log transformation. Wonderful. What if lambda equal to 0.5 within Box-Cox? If lambda equal to 0.5, what kind of transformation do you apply? Yep. Let's see who is going to reply. Akhilesh, Satya, Kiran. Okay. Uh, no. I think lasso and all we will get there. Okay. And sorry, one person I need to remove. Yeah. Square root. Exactly. You perform square root transformation. Square root, not square. Square is when you have lambda equal to 2. That is when you apply square transformation. Then another yet robust technique which exists alongside Box-Cox transformation is Johnson transformation. You will have to speak about these two transformation techniques when you speak about data pre-processing. So when people ask you about what are the various data pre-processing techniques that you've applied, these are a few things that you have to speak about, right? In that we discussed about how to deal with outliers. You know about how to deal with missing values and transformation. And there'll be a lot of questions centered around what technique you mentioned. You would have mentioned a few techniques that you would have applied as part of your data pre-processing. So questions would be centered around that. In short, you can actually control the entire interview process by naming, interesting techniques alongside your data pre-processing, etc. And obviously, any interviewer would be interested to check with you on, hey, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by Box-Cox transformation? What do you mean by Johnson transformation? And then you keep answering. Okay. So this is the first week. So I'm going to stop here, stop at this juncture. And from next week onwards, it'll be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. There are a lot of spam messages, etc., which are coming in. A lot of spamsters are joining in. So we will look at how to control that also by next week. Okay. And tomorrow, friends, you are going to have live project presentation. Our past participants have worked on live projects and they have done end-to-end, they have done end-to-end implementation on the project. So tomorrow at same time, YouTube live will also notify you. You'll receive automated emails from YouTube. You are going to understand about live project. Who was a client? What was the project management methodology applied? How was the project charter? Was that on-premise implementation or on-cloud implementation? The architecture in action, model building steps, what were the interesting challenges that people have faced, all of these things. So every Saturday, 2 hours interview preparation. And next week, we are going to start off from where we have left with respect to data pre-processing. And every Sunday, there will be one live project which our participants have worked and successfully completed the project. So that is how it's going to work. So tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m., you please join, and then you can have a very good experience on how live projects are handled end to end. Okay. Any questions that you have? You might want to post those on our chat window on YouTube. And please do not forget to subscribe. If you do not subscribe, then you'll not be able to listen to further sessions. Okay, so please subscribe. And thank you all so much. We'll connect again next week and take it forward. But tomorrow you'll have a session. Please do not forget that.